Scott, nobody has covered over the last 6 years January 6 defendants and those legal outside advisors to them like you have. And so I just want to take us here to this moment in August of 2026. When you see this afternoon that Ed Martin is leaving the Department of Justice, what was your initial response?
Ed Martin was also a January 6th defense lawyer, and he was appointed to be the U.S. attorney on Inauguration Day, the day all the pardons went down. And he helped consummate all the pardons by clearing the records out of the docket. And then he fired a bunch of people who were part of the January 6th prosecutions because they took the assignment given to them and executed it. One of the fired attorneys who was let go during Ed Martin's reign said he was Shakespearean because it was part comedy, dark comedy, part tragedy. Comedy because he had like a gimmick where he wore a trench coat like he was some type of Bond villain.
Oh my God, that's
as he did as part of his functioning as a government employee. Part dark comedy because he truly was outside Letitia James's home in New York as she was being investigated for mortgage fraud. He was there being photographed, not something a government employee does. Tragedy because the purge he unfurled inside the Department of Justice cost them some of their best and brightest, some of their longest tenured people who were heroes in their jobs, and because he has been a denialist of January 6th, and that contagion, that cancer keeps spreading through the bloodstream.
Yeah.
It is, I'm concerned. Are you concerned about, specifically because what the president said about Ed Martin? Now, I know Todd Blanche has since posted, it is official that Ed Martin is no longer a part of the Justice Department. But when the president posted on his social media site about this, he cited the 2026 elections and the 2028 presidential elections. And that, to me, says that they are literally shouting from the rooftops what they are planning to do. And it is up to the rest of us whether we decide we're going to pay attention and listen or not. Are you concerned?
The firewalls that existed in 2020 are still there. The court system, the ability of courts to correct and dismiss just bonkers lawsuits and legal challenges. Ed Martin did not accrue during his time as the U.S. attorney in D.C. and a Herculean winning streak of remarkable accomplishments in front of grand jurors, trial jurors, and judges. I'm not sure he's the all-star Trump could deploy post-2026 if he wants to mess with elections.
So should people take him seriously? I mean, we saw Sidney Powell, Rudy Giuliani 6 years ago. Ed Martin, is that the best option?
But also one difference is now he has people at the DOJ and the FBI that are willing to do things that the folks at the DOJ and the FBI in 2020 were not willing to do.
And a judge has signed a subpoena. Remember, when they got the ballots in Fulton County, the ballots that were seized, they were able to do that because they had a warrant that was signed by a magistrate judge.
The things Ed Martin was most openly successful at during his time as the pardon attorney were things that didn't have to go through the courts, didn't have to go through Congress, things where he could make unilateral decisions with the president. I'm not sure what type of batting average he's put together to make him any more than a Sidney Powell or Rudy Giuliani figure, Vaughn. We will find out. He's quite clearly going to be part of whatever challenges they muster.
There was also that little period of time, one quick ad, in which he was leading the anti-weaponization group that ultimately everybody thought that's where all these prosecution attempts would come out of. Nothing ended up coming from it. It dissolved, and then he became pardon attorney.
His position in DOJ, Department of Justice, declined as Todd Blanche ascended, but Blanche did issue a very positive statement about Martin today. We'll see, though, if that sticks.
Well, we've seen those. Simone's written some of them, and they're not always true. I want to move a little bit to this New York Times reporting that is new. Despite a congressional requirement, the White House has not released U.S. intelligence agency's assessment of foreign meddling efforts during our last election. Now, this is what they write. The omission of the report on the 2024 election shows the highly selective nature of the Trump White House's approach to declassification. It is just one example of many where the administration has ignored bipartisan pressure from Congress, including legal requirements, by withholding certain documents from public view, even as it publishes hundreds of pages of material it has promised will reveal deep state cover-ups of foreign meddling efforts. This feels important because it feels like I don't cook because I'm bad at it and I find it boring. But if I was to make a stew, right? That's something I would put in the stew. I would also put the Fulton County behavior in the stew. I would also put when they called South Carolina and said, hey, we want an IP address of someone who did something which is legal, which is going online and registering to vote. I would put in the stew the speech that President Trump gave, where he talked about all these lies and spread all these lies again. I would put a lot of stuff in the stew. And so this is just another reason why I'm concerned, you're concerned, the people in my ear are concerned about what is to be wrought in 2026.
It's quite clear to me he's a sneaky good cook. don't let him sell you a bill of goods.
I have to tell you. I have to tell you, he cannot cook.
It's not good.
He's a master order outer.
Yes. I can make a mean cinnamon toast crunch.
A bowl of cereal is the way to
Yes.
go. So this is not just a recommended report. This is a legally required report on whether there was or was not foreign interference. They must report it out, and they haven't done so yet, way beyond previous administrations on the time frame. But there's also one they've got to issue 180 days before the upcoming election. We're well past that deadline. They haven't done so either. I can tell you there's 3 Democrats already on the record saying they'd like to either defund or investigate the Director of National Intelligence unless that report gets released. They're that serious about it. These things don't come as a trivial matter. What's more, the downsizing of the Director of National Intelligence Office has been monumental. They don't need the bodies to put the report together.
Yeah, and now what? Jay Clayton is in charge of the DNI, and he is also not an expert on anything that has to do with intelligence, anything with the CIA. He has no background in any of that. He's just a less, how shall I say this? He's a less polarizing Bill Pulte, if you will.
Might be a good cook, though.
Might be a better cook than Eugene.
Yeah. Bar's low.
Nevada. What is going on? Okay, the Trump officials still haven't shared lists of voters under review with Nevada officials. Is this your reporting?
Yeah.
Okay, tell us, Vaughn.
I mean, it was a month ago, that primetime speech when the president went and told the country that there were 250,000 non-citizen voters registered in 4 states. One of those was Nevada. And we have a video recording of a meeting in which DHS officials were struggling to tell Nevada state election officials that they've actually been able to verify these, quote, non-citizen voters here, which really gets at the heart of the question of you're going to go and tell the country there's 250,000 unregistered voters, but then you haven't even verified that is, in fact, accurate. Where do you see, Scott, this going? And at what point is the administration unable to defend these claims that they're telling the country in order to justify skepticism around November?
Excellent reporting, excellent use of public records request to get that reporting. Local election officials do have a game face on for this. They're ready for the misinformation to be pervasive and deliberate and potentially both domestic and foreign in nature. They're ready to counter misinformation and to rebut these types of unverified claims, if not ballpoint lies. And I'll tell you, it's in the battleground states where they're on the strongest war footing. They know this is coming. They know this is coming.